Hello and welcome to 5 Writers, 5 Minutes, where 5 experienced children's authors share their amazing wisdom. I'm Leanne Tanner, and today's guest is Maryam Master, playwright, screenwriter, multi-award-winning author of Exit Through the Gift Shop, and her latest book, Laughter is the Best Ending. And I forgot to make room for everybody else to say hello. So I'm Leanne Tanner.
I'm Deborah Abella.
I'm Maryam Master. Sorry.
I'm Sandy Louise.
And I'm Sarah Armstrong.
After that extraordinary beginning, what we're talking about today is how every story is different. And I don't just mean in obvious ways, like that every story is a new story, but every story I have found is different in how we approach it. When I started writing, I used to think that once I had figured out how to write a book, that would be it. Like that there would be a series of steps that I could follow one by one, and that was sort of how I'd go about every one for the rest of my life. And then I tried to write my second book, and I discovered that if I tried to write it exactly the same way as the first book, it was really boring. And it's been the same with every book since. If I try to do things in the same way as the last book, or if I try to use exactly the same processes in the same order, it just doesn't work. And I've found that some books demand to be written from the beginning to the end in order, and other books want to jump around. Some books want to be plotted to within an inch of their life, and other books just cross their arms and refuse to cooperate. So in a way, it's almost like I'm writing my first book each time, except that I have more confidence now in myself and in the creative process. And what I find does remain true, even though every book wants to be written differently, what does remain true is that the more tools that I have in my writing rucksack or whatever it is, the better, because then I have a choice. Then depending on what this particular book requires, I can pull things out that will then apply to this particular book. Deb, how do you find this?
Oh, I love that, Leanne. You've captured it so well, because it's not just that each story is different. It's like the whole world that I inhabit while I'm writing that particular story is different. Every novel has a feel to me, and that like I am literally stepping into a different world, which of course you are. And some start in a very, very different place to where they finish. So my books like Grimsden, the Book of Wondrous Possibilities, if I showed you the first drafts or even the first idea, you would go, I didn't even know how this connects. This is ridiculous. Others are delightfully, they're like, they can be like children, and children have good and bad days like adults. Some are delightfully well behaved, like the Kindness Project was so well behaved. And I think because I didn't know what I was doing, because it's my very first verse novel, so I wasn't putting too much pressure on myself. Whereas my other novels, where I thought, come on, Deb, you've done this before, you should be better at this. Some of those, like New City, the second in the Grimsden trilogy, were like literally just pulling teeth. And so what I think I've learned, and I love that you ended with that, Leanne, what I've learned is you have to trust it a little bit. Just trust that it is a different, lovely little creature than the one that you wrote before. There will be different highs, different lows. There will be times when it's easy and it's flowing and it's amazing, and other times you'll read it the next morning and go, oh, this is rubbish. So just trust that it will work. And I know a few of us in this writing group at the moment have handed in stories that our publishers were perhaps like, I think you should make some really big changes on that. That's also okay. That's also okay. Look at it afresh, and understand that this process is its own beast for this particular story. Maryam, what do you do when you write? Actually, all of your different projects.
Well, that is such a relief, first of all, to hear you two speak, because I've only written 3 books, but each time I feel like, oh my God, terrified, absolutely terrified. Not except for the first time, because the first time I was writing for my son. I didn't have, I didn't even know if it would be published. Exit Through the Gift Shop was a love letter to Leo, who asked the very big questions about why are we here? What is the point of it all? And so actually it's really interesting the way you pose the question is, what does the book demand of us? Because that book demanded reflection and time. It took me a long time. It took me about 3 years. I wasn't working on it all the time, but I would be okay to leave it for months on end and come back to it, because there were things I was sort of mulling over and thinking about. but with no words, for example. Again, that was an entirely different experience because I was contracted to do that one. So I started with a character that I was interested in, a boy who doesn't speak. He has, selective mutism. So I was like, okay, but why? Honestly, I had no idea. And for the longest time, I had to go, okay, I'll just listen. I'll just wait. I don't know. And again, very scary because now I had people waiting for the novel and he just wasn't telling me. But that was part of the process. And that was part of me, and I was interested in his character because I think we live in a world where there's too much, there's oversharing and, people talking so much, so loudly. And this character wasn't saying anything. And so I waited a really long time. And then I was in the shower one day when I just went, oh, he's me. His stories, his escape story is my story. And I remember just kind of almost crying, going, oh, like I just waited till it came. And then the rest of it came like an avalanche because I know that story. But it is different each time. And with the new book, again, I was really interested in sort of starting at the end being the beginning. So it's at a funeral, someone's, she's laughing at a funeral. Again, you're not supposed to laugh at funerals. Actually, that's the first line of the book. And again, I was interested in this, what you're not supposed to do when you don't fit. But again, I worked it out a little bit. I knew I wanted an intergenerational friendship in there. I knew I wanted, like Tristan Banks, my favorite movie of all time is Stand By Me. And I knew I wanted a solid group of friends. I knew I wanted the themes of, beauty standards in there. But it was loose in that, in that way. So each one was different and each time it's terrifying. And as the fourth book is sort of going, come on, write me, I'm going, oh. So I find writing torturous.
Yes.
I don't love it, but I love parts of it. I love it when I'm in it and it's flowing, and I love when it's finished, but it is a particular kind of torment.
Oh, I love hearing about the development of each of those books, Maryam, because I'm a big fan of all your books. And yeah, I just love that each of them spoke to you so differently or didn't. I think what makes me, love this industry so much and love my career so much is the fact that, every book is different. If you look at my catalogue, every book is different vastly. And some might have trouble wondering, how they could sit together. So I think for me, like a book will visit me as well. And, I'll just be like out in nature or doing something random, and there it will be. And I'll be like, okay, who are you? What are you? Let's find out. And I just love that joy of discovering. And I will try and give every idea a chance. But look, the idea itself is going to determine a little bit about what kind of book it is. Is it a picture book? Is it a book for young readers? Is it a book for older readers? I never would have predicted I'd find myself writing a young adult novel, but I have. And my newest novel, there it is, Hazel's Treehouse. It's a collection of short stories. Again, no plans for that. Definitely different from the other books that I've done. But, I was sitting on a friend's veranda, and then these beautiful characters and these beautiful words just crept up. And I do like to honor my creativity, and I do like to go, let's just see where this will go. And I do think my best work does come out of that, giving your creativity space. So yeah, every book is different, but that's what I love about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, at the simplest level, my books are different because, I've written for adults, and then I wrote my last two books for, middle grade, 8 to 12, where sort of low fantasy. And then the book I'm writing now that's out next year is more of a adventure, survival, almost slightly thrillerish sort of edge to it, and realism. They each require different things, and, the fantasy required, incredible imagination and dreaming up world building. And this one, it's like I'm really working on the tension and the pacing, which has been really, really fun, thinking about notions like rising action, in other words, making things increasingly more challenging and increasingly more exciting and difficult. still all the same things to consider around character arcs and plot, but it's been quite a different experience just to think about all those ways we build tension by just hinting at something. So it's just sort of lingering there and then waiting a bit and then hinting again and then having it sort of apparent, whatever it is, the thing that's creating the fear or whatever, and not resolving it. So it's like not rushing to resolve things. That's one of the things I've learned. So to that extent, the different genres that I write are different, but mostly it's the characters, because it's the character's voice who tells the story, and I feel like I enter the character's world. I become the character when I'm writing. So it's an entirely different experience for me, because I feel really different while I'm writing, depending who the main character is, because I am them and I feel their backstory and I feel the difficult times they might have had in the past. I embody it almost. So to that extent, it always feels very different when I'm writing, because I am kind of a different person.
You're a method writer.
Thanks everyone. I love the way things overlap. I love the way all our different experiences overlap in this way, and I love the way that there are some differences as well. So I hope that's been interesting and useful. If you're writing your second book, don't try and write it the same way as you wrote your first book, or if you're writing short stories or whatever, honor the story. I think this is a really nice way of approaching it. Like, find out what that particular story wants and follow that particular path. We're 5 Writers, 5 Minutes. You can find us on podcast and YouTube. Thanks again to Maryam Master for being with us this week, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.